Okay, so get ready for this one, folks. We are diving deep into a story from Hasidic folklore today. One excerpt from El Borracho Sagrado. And let me tell you, it's a wild one. So the story is about this guy called the Holy Drunkard. And right from the title, I'm like, okay, I need to know more about this.
Well, what's so captivating about this story is that it starts with a bit of a mystery. So you've got the Baal Shem Tov. He's the founder of Hasidic Judaism, right? He's taking a follower through the woods, and they come across this unmarked grave, no name, no dates, nothing.
Wow.
And what does he do? He raises a toast with wine to this unknown person, calling him the Holy Drunkard.
Wait a second. He just toasts a random grave in the woods? Oh, okay, now I'm really intrigued. What's the story behind all this?
Well, that's what the rest of the excerpt is all about. The Baal Shem Tov goes on to explain who this Holy Drunkard is and why he deserves a toast at his final resting place. It all starts with a wealthy Jewish couple. They arrange a marriage for their children, Shimón and his wife. Shimón is the super devout guy, totally devoted to his faith, spends all of his time in prayer and religious study. But his wife, well, she's got other things on her mind. Money.
Ah, the classic clash of values, right?
Exactly.
I can kind of relate to this. Well, maybe not the whole arranged marriage and ancient Jewish tradition part, but you know that pull between what your heart really wants and what society, or in this case, your spouse expects from you.
Exactly. And that tension is at the very heart of Shimón's story. So his wife starts off pretty subtle, encouraging him to get more involved in the family business, suggesting they could be even wealthier.
And Shimón, being the devoting husband, starts to listen.
He does. And it's not an overnight transformation or anything, but gradually Shimón gets pulled deeper and deeper into this world of business. And the irony here is, the more Shimón focuses on material wealth, the further he strays from his faith, from those core values. So the story seems to be suggesting that if you just chase after success without grounding yourself in what really matters to you, it can lead you down a pretty tricky path.
Oh, for sure. It's like he's trading his spiritual riches for material ones. I have a feeling that trade-off is going to come back to bite him. So what happens next? Does he strike it rich?
Well, he does find success, but it definitely comes at a cost. Shimón's wife sees a golden opportunity in Saint Petersburg. Now, back then, Jews weren't actually allowed in the city.
Right.
But the allure of wealth was just too strong. So Shimón makes a choice. He decides to pretend to be a gentile, to get his foot in the door.
Wow. Talk about a risky move. I mean, what choice did he really have? If he gets caught, it's over, right?
Exactly. And this is where the story dives into the complexities of Jewish law and what happens when following those laws could mean life or death. So Shimón starts breaking rules. Little ones at first, like eating non-kosher food. But then things get more serious. To really solidify his disguise and avoid suspicion, he actually converts to Christianity.
Wow. That is heavy. I mean, he started out so devout, so committed to his faith, and now he's living this lie.
Yeah.
I have to wonder how he felt about all of this. Was he just completely lost? Or was there still a glimmer of his old self buried in there somewhere?
Well, that's where things take an even more interesting turn. Years pass. And it's Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, the Day of Atonement.
Right.
Now, you might be wondering, what's Shimón doing on this day, after everything he's done?
Yeah, what's going on in his head? Is he out celebrating with his fancy new Gentile friends?
No, not exactly. He's drowning in guilt and regret. He can't escape the weight of his choices, desperate for any kind of solace. He seeks out the most unlikely person, a drunkard who works on his father-in-law's estate.
Hold on. What? The guy who's supposed to be this model of piety and faith confides in a drunkard. That's wild. What do you make of that? It seems like the story's really trying to tell us something here.
It certainly is. I mean, think about it. The drunkard, so often seen as a figure of social and moral degradation, actually holds a significant place in religious and literary traditions. In many stories, they embody a kind of chaotic wisdom, a perspective that lies outside the norms of society. It's as if their outsider status allows them to see things that others just miss. And that's exactly what we see here. The drunkard becomes this symbol of unexpected guidance.
This is where it gets really interesting to me. So Shimón, this successful businessman, this supposed Christian, he pours his heart out to this drunkard, confessing all of his sins and struggles. What happens next?
Well, buckle up, because things are about to get even more complicated. The drunkard drops a bombshell. He's Jewish too, and just like Shimón, he's been wrestling with his own transgressions, carrying the weight of his mistakes. But instead of condemning Shimón, he offers him a glimmer of hope.
Wow. So the drunkard becomes a kind of unlikely mentor.
Precisely. He advises Shimón to return to his faith, to seek forgiveness and reconnect with his true self, and he even comes up with a plan to help Shimón escape this predicament.
Okay, now I need to know more. What's the plan? Does Shimón manage to pull this off?
Well, we'll dive into that right after a quick break.
You're killing me. Don't leave us hanging.
Don't worry, we'll be right back.
Okay, so what is this plan? I need to know. We've got Shimón, this Jewish businessman pretending to be a Christian, confiding in a Jewish drunkard, and they both want to return to their faith. It sounds like something out of a movie.
It definitely has some crazy twists and turns. So the plan the drunkard comes up with, it's actually pretty clever. He tells Shimon to go back to his wife, to continue living this double life. But here's the catch. While maintaining this whole Christian facade, Shimon is supposed to secretly rededicate himself to his Jewish faith, finding ways to observe the commandments and reconnect with his true identity.
So he's basically playing this high-stakes game of hide-and-seek with his identity.
Exactly. It's definitely risky, no doubt about it. But it also shows how desperate Shimon is for redemption. He's willing to do whatever it takes to atone for his past and find his way back to his roots.
This part of the story really makes me think about how complicated sin and redemption can be. I mean, it's easy to judge Shimon for his choices, but he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Would any of us have the guts to do what he did, to risk everything for our faith?
It's a really thought-provoking question, and the story doesn't give us easy answers. It just presents Shimon's actions and lets us grapple with how morally ambiguous they are. Is he a hero for clinging to his faith? Or is he a hypocrite for lying to his wife? It really speaks to the human condition, you know, this constant struggle between our ideals and our actions.
Totally. And speaking of his wife, remember, has she noticed something was up with Shimon? She was convinced his sudden change was about more than just business. Well, guess what? Driven by love and worry, she sets out to find this drunkard, thinking that he holds the key to her husband's transformation.
And this is where things get even more interesting. Shimon's wife tracks down the drunkard. And just like Shimon, she finds him deep in sorrow on Yom Kippur, reflecting on his own mistakes and looking for forgiveness. It's as if Yom Kippur is this mirror, reflecting their internal struggles and this deep yearning for something more.
It sounds like a really powerful moment. So what happens when she finally meets this drunkard?
Well, instead of this degenerate she was expecting, she finds a man of deep faith and compassion, and he can see her genuine desire to understand her husband, to bridge the gap between them. So he decides to help her. He tells her where to find Shimon, and he even encourages her to consider converting to Judaism.
Wait, what? He encourages her to convert? I thought he was trying to help Shimon return to his Jewish faith. This is getting pretty complicated.
It is, and that's part of what makes this story so amazing. It's just full of unexpected twists and turns. And this conversion, it's not just about Shimon's wife finding Judaism. It's about love and empathy. It's about the power of faith to touch another person's life. You see, she's so moved by the drunkard's words, by his genuine belief, that she actually decides to convert. And guess what? Her conversion eventually inspires her father to convert as well.
Whoa, hold on. So this drunkard, who on the surface seems like he's at the bottom of society, he ends up causing not one, but two conversions. That's incredible.
It is. It speaks to the story's message about the unexpected places where you can find holiness. Remember how the Baal Shem Tov toasted this holy drunkard at the beginning?
Right.
Well, now we know why. This man, dismissed by society, he becomes this unlikely hero, a spiritual guide leading others to their own redemption.
And remember that unmarked grave from the beginning? Is that where this is all going?
You got it. It's the drunkard's grave. He actually dies on the journey with Shimon's father-in-law, leaving behind a legacy that's way bigger than anyone would have expected. He might have been a drunkard in the eyes of the world, but through his actions and guidance, and his unwavering faith, he becomes a symbol of holiness, reminding us that appearances can be deceiving, and that true worth is often hidden beneath the surface.
This entire story is like a puzzle, with this drunkard at the center of it all. It's amazing how these seemingly insignificant actions, talking to Shimon, advising his wife, they end up having such a big impact.
And it's not just about the impact he has on others, it's about his own personal journey too. This is a man battling his own demons, yet he still finds a way to connect with his faith and offer guidance and support to those around him, to ultimately find some form of redemption.
It makes you wonder if we all have the potential to be that light for someone else, even when we're going through our own dark times.
Absolutely. It reminds us that we should never underestimate human connection, a kind word, a moment of understanding, just listening to someone. These small acts can have a huge impact on people's lives, leading them toward healing and growth, and maybe even their own spiritual awakening.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me. It's a story that'll stick with me. What about you? What stands out the most to you? What's the one thing you hope listeners will take away from this story?
You know, for me, it's that reminder that everyone has a story, no matter their circumstances, and sometimes the most unexpected people can inspire us and guide us. It's a message of hope, of redemption, of the power of the human spirit to overcome challenges and find meaning even in the toughest times.
Beautifully said. I think that's a perfect way to wrap up. Thanks for joining us for this journey into Hasidic folklore. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of the Holy Drunkard.
It's been great exploring this captivating story with you.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to keep diving deeper, keep searching for those stories that challenge your perspective and expand your understanding of the world. Until next time, keep exploring and keep asking questions. It really is like peeling back the layers of an onion, isn't it? The more we learn, the more we discover. And this drunkard, he's like this unexpected pearl at the center of it all.
You know, that's a great way to put it, and it really highlights something important about this story. The drunkard, with all his flaws, is never condemned. The story doesn't portray him as a sinner needing saving. It shows him as this complex person, someone with deep faith, and a capacity for compassion that goes beyond what's on the surface.
It makes you think differently about what it means to be holy, doesn't it? We usually associate holiness with outward piety, right? Like following the rules and rituals. But this story suggests that true holiness, maybe it comes from somewhere much deeper inside. Regardless of social status or outward behavior.
Absolutely. Makes you wonder if we all have these hidden depths inside. Maybe we all have the potential to be that holy drunkard for someone, to offer guidance and support when they least expect it.
This idea of hidden potential and unexpected heroes, it's really powerful. It's like the story is saying, hey, look beyond the surface, beyond the labels. You never know where you'll find true wisdom and compassion.
Yeah. And maybe it's also a call to action, reminding us that we can all make a difference. We can touch other people's lives in meaningful ways. It doesn't have to be these grand gestures or heroic things. Sometimes the most powerful impact, it comes from those small acts of kindness, listening, offering a helping hand, seeing that spark of something bigger in everyone we meet.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. It's definitely a story that'll stay with me. What about you? What stands out to you the most? What's the one thing you want listeners to walk away with?
For me, it's the reminder that every person, no matter what they're going through, has a story that deserves to be heard. And sometimes, the most unexpected people can inspire us and guide us. It's a message of hope, of redemption, of the human spirit's ability to overcome any challenge and find meaning even in the darkest times.
That's beautifully said. I think that's a perfect place to end things. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through Hasidic folklore. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the story of the Holy Drunkard.
It's been a pleasure exploring this story with you.
And to all our listeners, keep diving deep. Keep searching for those stories that challenge how you think and expand your understanding of the world. Until next time, keep exploring. And keep asking questions.